Good afternoon. This is Ukraine Media Center Odessa, and we're starting our working day today, the first one for this week. Our first guest for today is Oleksandr Kapshin, commander of the Territorial Defense Platoon of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. He is from Kherson, and we plan to discuss him the preparation for mobilization, but while we were preparing to the briefing, the armed forces of Ukraine have liberated Kherson and now proceeding further on, so we can discuss Kherson with Oleksandr today as well. I would like to welcome everyone. My name is Oleksandr. I'm the commander of Platoon and the head of the unit Chimera, which is the part of the 24th Territorial Defense of Odessa. We participated in the combat activities near Kherson in the direction of New Kakhovka, and our unit also liberated Kherson. You are from Kherson, so can you share your first feelings, the first impressions of the people who saw the armed forces of Ukraine there for the first time in a while? People were just excited. I came there on Sunday. I did not see everything, but what we saw there really is really inspiring, and this gives us motivation to continue our offense. We were welcomed there as superheroes from Marvel world, and that was really very impressive. People are just fascinated to see us there. But there is no power, there is no water in the city, and this is really bad. And we also communicated with the municipal services there, and we believe that in a week, the power supply water will be restored in the city. And I think that every journalist, every soldier going through Kherson can see that burst of the emotions from the local population there. Because people are really very happy when they see Ukrainians, when they see defenders, journalists, and volunteers. And they understand that thanks to all of us, the city has been liberated. Can you tell us a bit about your personal involvement in the combats? Where were you wounded, if it's of course possible? Starting from March of this year, we have been actively participating in hostilities in the direction of Kherson. So that was direction of Nova Kakhovka, the Kherson itself. And the directions are different, and it depends on the order that we have. And if they change the location of our brigade, we were substituted by another unit. And what can I tell about my wound? I was wounded also in the area of Kherson, near Posad Pokrovsky. So that was an assault, and our unit, together with other units of one more brigade, at like 10 kilometers from the enemy, and there was the last assault, the fifth one, for a week and a half. And as a result, we were able to conquer positions, and there was wounded. That was a bullet wound. But that didn't stop my unit. My unit was able to stand there and to preserve the positions and continued its offensive. And the last question from my side, and then I will be able to give floor to other journalists. And just a few words about the first topic of our today's briefing, the preparation to mobilization, because as far as I understand, now you train people and you prepare people to mobilization, or if they want to sign the contract with the armed forces of Ukraine. Can you share us a bit of information here? Yes, of course, we are starting and we are planning to start to full preparation of the population to the mobilization in case it is needed in the future, for people to have the needed skills for this. And for the person after joining the armed forces of Ukraine or other units or forces to be ready to work on, to have some skills, to be able to get new advanced skills. And this will be, of course, much better if comparing to the situations when people come to the military forces with no knowledge at all. So this is our vision. And we would like for the population to be as prepared as in Israel and other NATO countries. When the local population is involved in such trainings, and then people can decide after that if to join the armed forces or not. Thank you very much. Now I would like to give the opportunity for the floor to have questions. Oleksandr, if you need translation from the English channel, so please put on your headsets and to the first channel. I will ask Russian. Yes, sure, I can understand Russian. So, what should I start with? Yesterday, with Mikhail, we were in Kherson. We saw that the huge wave of emotions, and actually it made me weep several times. There were rumors that when the Russian left the right bank, there was kind of an agreement between the armed forces that the Ukrainian party will not pursue them while they are leaving. But did you have such feeling that you didn't follow them because of some agreement, or they were in such a haste that it was impossible for you to surround them, or to capture them, or to destroy the Russian forces that left the other bank? I will also answer in Russian language. You see, every offensive can be quickened when it is needed, but there are significant risks that the manpower can hit some mines or can get into other secrets, and secrets, it is our name for booby traps. And I heard that rumors, and I learned about this from the internet, but I am not competent to provide some more information. Why we were not in such a haste? When you come across the protection line of the enemy, they have a lot of trenches and other fortifications to protect themselves. So you need to get down there, you need to examine them thoroughly, and of course the first one to get there are the sappers. And I know how it works. I know that this is a very difficult way for the engineers to get there first. And people had to work 22 kilometers on foot. And they check all fortifications, all settlements. And of course, we had now a lot of Russian equipment trophies. So this is so-called Russian Lend-Lease. But we cannot just go there without further examination and to run after them, because we know that we can get in some traps. We don't know are there any agreements or not, but we did not want to risk our personnel. So we advanced there gradually, just not to endanger our people. But actually, we had a certain issue there. The person from our platoon, the deputy head of the commander headquarters, was blown up on the anti-tank mine. So he's alive, but he has a lot of wounds. And that is the example of when we tried to run after our enemy. Yevgeny Yachmentsov, the 7th channel. I have two questions. First, you mentioned the mobilization in Kherson. Will the citizens of Kherson be mobilized, and are you going to create separate units, or will they join just the other existing units? And the second question is related to power issues. Will it have impact on the mobilization? And when we were in Kherson, a lot of people came to us asking how they can join our units, our platoon or brigade. And I'm sure that other soldiers there got that questions as well. I do not know what is the plan for the formation of different units because we have the commander there in Kherson. I don't know what plans they have. But my personal opinion is that these people will join the brigade that are already in Kherson or the ones which are near the city. And I think that the first step is to join that units. And the second step, if everything's fine, they will start forming the territorial defense units in Kherson and perhaps two or more additional brigades. But I think that the first step is for the people there to join other brigade, and there are a lot of volunteers in Kherson. Around 50% of men and women you can see in the center of the city, on the central square, want to join the armed forces of Ukraine. As for the power supply, I don't think that that can have some significant impact on the mobilization because the motivation of our people is really significant. And this is not only in Kherson, but in other cities and oblasts. No power cuts, no lack of water can influence their wish to protect our country. Thank you. The next question, if you have, of course, one. If there are no questions, I have one. You said that a lot of people want to join the armed forces of Ukraine, using the example of Israel. What skills do they need for this? Can you just name yourselves, just for us to know who you are? The National Radio of Spain. You can get all the skills during the training, and the wish is of the main importance. The willingness to join the armed forces, the willingness to protect your own country, the willingness to liberate cities, regions, and the whole country from the enemy's forces. I think that this is the main important things. This is the motivation that makes us move forward. As for the skills, there are different professions, jobs there in the army, but all people there protect our country. Thank you. I have one more question. You have close friends in Kherson, as far as I understand, and I remember when the Ukrainian armed forces liberated the cities and villages in Kyiv or Kharkiv oblasts. All the time, unfortunately, they found some evidence proving that there were military crimes, the kidnapping of people, tortures, etc. And we understand that Kherson was under control of the Russians aggressors for many months, and we got information that people were kidnapped or abducted there, that people were beaten, especially when it comes to the activists that were very brave to go to the rollers during the first day of occupation. Do you have such information about people looking for other people or some places of torture or burial places? As for the places, I have not heard about this yet, and hopefully I will never. Hopefully we do not learn about this. But I have some friends who were taken from the houses, and their relatives still don't know where they are. These were the people that were actually the part of the football fan movement in Kherson. And you know very well that the football fans in Ukraine have representatives there have joined the armed forces of Ukraine to protect our country. They were also the representatives of the armed forces of Ukraine who served in the ETO zone. There were some neighbors who pointed out that people to the enemy, and these people were taken from the house, and they still are missing in action. And hopefully we won't find such places of burial torture as we found in different regions. But still there are missing people, and have not been found yet. The city is closed for general visits. And there are the checks there and verifications, and actually our soldiers are looking for the Russian soldiers who are trying to hide there. And yes, the city is closed now. The journalists can get there only if they have the permission, accreditation. The volunteers can get there only if they have permission of the military administration. Not all soldiers can get there, only those who have the order for some activities there. The cleansing is taking place there, so we're trying to find the Russian soldiers, the collaborators, and I think that yesterday already you saw some videos how our special forces detained the Russian soldiers who were closed as locals, and so the activities of our special forces and soldiers is very fruitful and effective there. I would like to ask one more question. Yesterday, we with Michael and other journalists visited Kherson, and in Kherson we could hear the artillery well, and as far as I understand, that was ours artillery. And when we were leaving the cities, there were strikes there quite close to us. So the hostilities are ongoing, not far from Kherson. So the Russian units are not far from the city as we want them to be. And as you've already mentioned, and I would like to repeat that I was grown up in Kherson. I left Kherson after graduation from the school. Russian artillery are on the left bank and 15 kilometers from Kherson. And there is a long-distance artillery that can get easily to the city and to the areas beyond the city in the direction of Mykolaiv. There are also the artillery strikes on the suburbs of the city. And our artillery also there, and we heard it on Sunday. And this is not in the city, this is close to the city. But when artillery works in the city, you will hear one sound. And but when you are in the city and the artillery systems are on the suburbs, you can still hear them quite well, as if they were in like 5-7 blocks from you. So our artillery units are quite effective. I cannot tell you the numbers now because the headquarters and the staff have not informed about this, but everything's fine. They are really very effective. And I think that our strikes will make them to withdraw from that territory. I have some more questions because the topic is really very interesting. Before the 1st of November, people could quite freely leave Kherson, heading to the rest of Ukraine, and then the city was closed, and the Russians wanted to forcibly deport people to Crimea or to other regions of the Russian Federation. Do you know how many people left Kherson or were deported to Russia, and how many people are still there in Kherson? Because the less people we have there, the more easier it will be to restore power and water supply. Yes, the situation is as you've just described. My grandmother was in Kherson, my father, and the parents of the person I baptized. So there were some periods when people could leave Kherson, but some people had no opportunity to do this. For example, in my case, my grandmother would not have survived such a movement because she is 80 plus years old, and people had to spend 3-4 days in lines to get to the rest of Ukraine, and that would be lethal for my grandmother. That's why my father decided to stay in Kherson with her. Then there was the period of referendum, and people say that if you opened the door, you were forced to tick the box in the support of Russia. That's why many people in the city did not open the door. They just pretended that no one was home, that people were somewhere else. And I can actually tell you about the example of my father. My father has a house where he lived, like multi-story house, and only 1/3 of the house is still there. So we can speak about these numbers about the whole city, that only 1/3 of the people, like of the population, are still there. So some people left to the territory, to the rest of the Ukraine. Some people supported Russians. They were collaborators, and they moved to the left bank. And there are some other people are still there. So that people, they continued living. They provided meals to our soldiers. They give all they have to thank our units. And I see that these people are not upset, and you can see the high spirit of those people that really shows their attitude to Ukraine in general. Is for the activities of the occupiers there. They called my father. They sent messages to him saying that you should leave the city because the Ukrainians will bombard the city. And actually, my father was born in Russia. And and he's still astonished with what's happening. He was born in Russia, but when he was 2 or 3 years old, his family moved to Ukraine. But it is still for him incomprehensible how such things are possible. And you know how Putin is called all over the world, and this is how my father calls Putin. And he never believed that Ukrainian units can bomb the city. So there was no connection, there was no TV there, only Russian operators, only Russian TV, but still the local population understood very well that Ukrainian units cannot bombard the city. And after Posad Pokrovsky, you actually know that those settlements were occupied by Russians, but you could see that with your own eyes that nothing is destroyed there. And actually, we're busting the myth, saying that Ukrainians bombard their own people, because we have Klopaya, Kisilovka, and you see no major destructions there. Maybe several objects of infrastructure, because our units struck only the locations of Russian units. So when occupiers and those who support them say that we just attack our own people, I would like to invite them to the territories that were occupied by Russians. You can see what was left there, and you can see compare this with the settlements where our forces advanced. So there are no shell. You will find no shells there in the houses, and I can say that I have some of the friends that were evacuated that also believe that Ukrainians could bombard the city. And actually, I want them to see how locals meet Ukrainian forces in Kherson. Perhaps they can change their opinion, but I doubt this. As for Posad Pokrovsky, yesterday we were there, and it is very painful to see what's there. So all the buildings, the schools are significantly destroyed. Some of them are fully destroyed there. So if there are no other questions, we are going to finalize now. I would like to thank Oleksandr for finding the opportunity to visit us today. And thank you very much. And I would like to wish you quick recovery. Thank you for the information provided. Our next briefing will be at noon. So please stay with us. Thank you.